Hello and welcome back to episode 9 of the Nood podcast. My name is Caitlin. I'm your fearless troop leader, and you have stumbled into a podcast that is built to help you just embrace who you are, celebrate where you're going, and know that anything is possible in life. I have been MIA for the last 2 weeks. I apologize for that. I did have some technical difficulties. I was in Bali for like 21 days, and I had pre-recorded and pre-edited several podcast, but I was not able to upload there because of the speeds, the internet speeds. So I do apologize. We are back in business. I have a couple that are coming out in the next couple weeks that were pre-recorded. So I'm very excited to share those with you. But for now, I just want to do a recap of Bali because it was amazing. And on this podcast, I like to talk about things that are relevant in my life, but also may give you some opportunity to like lean into your own life and know that anything is possible. And Bali was like a pipe dream for me. I never thought I was going to ever make it to Bali. And I went and I attended 2 retreats that were hosted by both Brina and Misty Moss, aka Molly. And I just want to talk about it because I am somebody who hosts retreats. And I think it's really important that if you are somebody who hosts retreats, you also attend retreats. It is a very important, pivotal part of what we do, because if you are not accustomed to knowing what it feels like to be on the opposite end of something like that, you can't actually run a retreat right. I just don't think it's possible. So I want to talk about it because it was really magical and really healing. First and foremost, you guys know I'm a traveling photographer. I travel full-time for a living and I shoot all over the country as well as the globe. I've shot in places like Canada, Mexico, Turks and Caicos, Australia, now Bali. And those are all places that I've gone for client purposes. This was just a trip for me. And a trip to help kind of deconstruct where I've been, where I'm going. They were both educational retreats. The first one was more of like a body movement, tantric healing type of thing. The second one was a creative weirdos retreat. And they partnered really well together. And it was just really magical. So if you have not been to Bali, I live on the East Coast currently. So it took me 36 hours to get there. I flew from Raleigh to Atlanta. That was like an hour and 25-minute flight. I had a 2.5-hour layover, which thankfully I did because we got delayed. And then from Atlanta, I went to Incheon. It's in Seoul. And I flew Delta on the first 2 flights and then Korean Air on the second or the third. But that middle flight was 17 and a half hours. I didn't think you could even be in the air that long, but 17 and a half hours. Even flying to Australia, I don't think it was that long because we flew out of LA. I think it was maybe 16 and a half. And I got really lucky on that flight because, ironically, there wasn't that many people in the class of seat that I was sitting in. And the gentleman that actually was sat next to me was like 6'9". He was enormous. So am I. I'm almost 6 feet. So like we both bought extended leg seats. But then we ended up sitting next to each other and like we joked about it in the airport, like, oh, I bet we're going to sit next to each other. And then I walked on the plane. I'm like, fuck, we actually are going to sit next to each other. I always feel bad because, I'm a big person and I do upgrade my seats because I never want to be an inconvenience to anybody. But ironically, we ended up next to each other. And so we were super delayed on that flight. It ended up being over a 2.5-hour delay. And it was a combination of issues with the plane, but also issues with, I think, our staff. Something was going on there. And so we ended up having to sit in these seats just on the tarmac for forever. And then the doors finally closed. Well, ironically, there was a couple that moved from like back in the plane to the seats next to us. And I was like, that seems kind of weird. But the flight attendant ended up bumping them. So when the doors shut, I just like snagged the same hostess. And I was like, hey, we're already in this like class of seat. Can I just move over? And that row was the middle aisle. And that block of seats had 4 seats. And so she goes, oh yeah, go ahead and move your stuff. So like before we pushed back from the gate, I just moved over and I ended up having like an aisle seat and then 2 open seats next to me. And the only other person in the aisle was on the other aisle. So we ended up having like 4 seats to just the 2 of us. It wasn't great because like you couldn't lay down. The seats were like the hard sided seats because they were the longer leg room. But I was able to like put my shit in the seat next to me. The guy next to me that I was actually sitting next to was able to like stretch and spread out as well. So it ended up working out great. But yeah, it was 17 and a half hours. I was landing when my second flight was boarding. And with international flights like that, you never know if you're going to have to go through like another set of security or what it looks like. I've never flown through Incheon. And so I was a little stressed because my second long flight, which would have been my third flight, was another 7.5 hours. And there wasn't another flight. It wasn't an option. And so I literally, we landed and I was really lucky because where my seat started, there was only like one block of seats in front of me. So I was able to get off the plane. And because they knew that we were already delayed, that airport had such a great system. They had like boards with our names on them and people directing what gate you needed to go to. And they put us like at the gate, almost directly next to, they call it like a transfer portal. And so from our gate, all we had to do is go out, get through the next block of security and into our gates. So like I sprinted into my gate as they were boarding. I got so lucky. So the third flight ended up being 7.5 hours. I landed in Bali. Let's see, it was late. It was like 10:45 p.m. So all told, with my layovers, delays, everything ended up being 36 hours, which is totally fine. I didn't realize it was on the complete opposite end of the world. It's 12 hours time difference, which is just crazy to me to think about that you can get in like a flying saucer and get to the other side of the world. I don't know, crazy. But because I landed so late and my retreat didn't start till the next day, I ended up having to get a hotel. Well, I got really lucky because the hotel that I booked is part of the airport. It's like a Hilton Garden. And if you fly into Bali, there's a hotel in the airport, but there's also this Hilton Garden. Well, I thought you could walk there. Silly me. You cannot walk there. I would definitely not recommend it. And it is so late. When we landed, it was so late that there are essentially like car services. Grab and Gojek are the two apps that use. It's like Lyft and Uber here. But what I didn't realize was when you put your credit card information, they have to send you a like verification code. So I wasn't able to set up my credit card. So I was like, I got out of the airport, got through customs. It was totally great. There's a couple of things that you had to do. There was like a customs document, but you also had to have a visa. And then when you get there, you just scan a QR code and then you just put your passport in and it takes you right through. You go through customs, you declare if you have anything, and then it pushes you outside the airport. All of my bags came. I say all. I carried on everything except one little bag that had like my, what would you even say? Like the stuff that you couldn't carry through TSA, which was like sunscreen, bug spray, stuff like that. So that bag came. I was like, I'm on a roll. I get out of the airport and motherfucker, I took a right instead of a left. I had already called a car and like there's a car pickup spot. Well, I took a right, which takes you to this like kind of holding area where people are hawking you for money exchange, cars, get in my car. Well, it's also 1,000,000 degrees and I'm still in my travel gear of 36 hours of travel. So I've got like my old lady compression socks on, my heavy sweatpants, a shirt. I'm carrying a shawl. Like nothing fits in my carry-on because I was so strategically packed, right? And so I get out of the airport and what a disaster because I'm sweating. Like it's dripping off my nose. It's dripping off my elbows. People are like, get in my car, come. And one guy corners me and he is following me. And I'm just trying to get my app set up, trying to figure out where the car is coming. And this man is just like hunting me. I finally turned around and he goes, you're hot. You're sweating. I have AC in my car. I said, keep following me and see what I do. I was so pissed. So I get back across. I'm like, okay, let me get back to the entrance of the airport. Maybe I'll figure out where I took the wrong turn. It was just a left instead of a right. So I go left. I find my little car area. Luckily they can take cash. It's like $4 to get from the airport to my hotel. I get to my hotel. I completely crash. Wake up the next morning, I go to the pool. I have like a extended checkout. It's amazing. And I was there until I got picked up for my first retreat, which was Misty Moss's retreat. And that was the body healing, body bliss, tantric healing retreat. And when I tell you, I was not prepared for the traffic in Bali. What? I mean, it is fascinating to watch. So everybody who drives these little, they're like mopeds, not even mopeds. What would you call them? Vespas. And on these Vespas, they pack as much as they can. So sometimes it's a family of 4, sometimes it's a ladder, sometimes it's tables, oftentimes it's groceries. And the majority of their populace rides these scooters, which is amazing. And there are these like smaller SUVs that you can fit like 7 people in, which is what we were in. And then even their like dump trucks and everything are super small. They're on just like a super small scale. But the traffic is what they call like flow of water. There is really no rules. It's just like people come and go, and it could be 2 lanes and there's 4 lanes that people are driving in, and there's no rhyme or reason. I don't think I could ever drive there. I did not mind being a passenger in it, but it was super stressful when I got there because I wasn't prepared. But it ended up being just like the most beautiful experience because it is so different than it is in the States. There's just really no spatial awareness. People are just very cognizant of each other. It's a lot of respect. Like it's very, very cool. But I was not prepared for that. So the drive from the airport to the first house that I stayed at was like an hour and 45 minutes. I was really lucky because I got picked up with 2 other girls, which was amazing because we got to just like catch up and chat and do all the things. So when you leave the airport, you go out over this like big water bridge area, and then you end up just like amazing back roads, back alleys. Well, we pull into our house, and I am not kidding you when I tell you it was the most beautiful setup ever. We were out in the rice fields. There was completely no one around. There was like little houses, very localized. And we were staying in Ubud, which is a bigger city, but it's not like a near the ocean or anything. It's kind of in the middle. And so a lot of agriculture, really cool cities, really cool shopping. But the facility that we were staying on was like a yoga retreat, essentially. So there was like individual rooms, and then the bathrooms were all set outside. And in the middle of all these rooms, it was kind of a horseshoe. There was this beautiful pool, like an infinity pool. And then there was this kind of like 2-story building. All of it is open. It's very outdoor, indoor living. There's really not a whole lot of like indoor space that's air conditioned. But the outdoor eating area was on the bottom with the kitchen. And that's where we had all of our meals. And there was a cool little seating nook. And then above that was this really cool open pavilion that we did like yoga and meditation. And there's hammocks up there. And it ended up being really beautiful. So in each of our rooms, our bedrooms and stuff were inside, and they all had mosquito nets and all that good stuff. But our bathrooms were outside. And so when you walked in, there was an overhang like where the toilet was. And then there was a shower stall, like an open shower stall, and a sink, and then the roof completely open, and it was like vines and all sorts of stuff, which ended up being really cool because that was just not what I was expecting. But it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And so we all had our own rooms, except there was one set of girls that shared a space. And so I got to spend 7 days there. And when I tell you, it was some of the most magical moments. We did everything from meditation and breath work. We had an amazing local healer come in and do this really incredible, like hour and 45 minute breath work, which was just really powerful for me. I kind of cracked open. It was just amazing. And so we did a bunch of journaling and prompts, but then we also did some really fun excursions. We got to go out and snorkel, where you get on this, like, essentially she rented like a private yacht. Misty and Rosie rented a private yacht for us, which was amazing. And we had the most amazing tour guides. Blue was the company. So if you're ever going to Bali and you want to rent a private boat, go with Blue. They're amazing. And they took us out, and we literally got to swim with manta rays. I know. It was the coolest thing ever. They're like aliens. I don't even know how to explain their size, but how peaceful and like just joyful they are. I don't know. It brought me a ton of joy. And then we also got to see turtles, and we got lucky because we also saw dolphins, like a whole pod of dolphins. And at the end of the day, we saw a huge rainbow. And it was so cool because they took us to a bunch of different spots and we got to snorkel, and a couple of them were like floating snorkels where you just kind of went with the current, and we had amazing dive leads. And then we also had a gentleman who did underwater photography, which, I mean, he was a SEAL. I don't even know how to explain it. This kid could dive like 30 feet down. He could hold his breath for 3.5 minutes. So he got a bunch of underwater photography, which was super cool. We got dropped off, we had lunch, and then we came back to the boat. It was just a magical day. But what I wasn't prepared for was getting from the Bali side to the island where we were. It's basically open ocean. And so really rough water. And I grew up on lakes, not oceans. So I don't do well like in open water like that. I didn't even do well on, I've been on one cruise my whole life. Didn't do well there either. And so I was a bit of a mess on the open water for both of them. We went out twice. But we really got lucky, and they go out early so that you're not really like in the thick of kind of gross water, chop and wind and all that stuff. And it ended up raining. It was just like so beautiful. So we got to do that for that one. We had a shopping day where we got to go down to the markets where there's just like rows and rows and rows of these vendors with everything that you can imagine, from clothes to accessories to jewelry, high end, kind of bottom of the barrel, you name it, they have it. And everything there is pretty reasonably priced for USD. And so we were able to kind of like stock up. I got a bunch of incense. I got a little incense holder, and then I bought a couple of sarongs for me and my mom, but it was just like so beautiful walking around and just seeing the different cultures and how people interact, and everything is bartered for. So there's a price, but then they want you to like barter for it, which was really fun. There was also really amazing food stands, like fresh fruit stands. My goodness, I had fruit there I've never had. Snake fruit, passion fruit. They had dragon fruit, the best dragon fruit I've ever had. We had dragon fruit every day. It was incredible. I will also say the food there was just unlike anything I've ever had. It was so fresh and delicious. And we had a really cool staff at the facility that we were at for the first one. And they basically were there for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and they homemade everything from scratch. And so every day we had some sort of soup, some sort of salad, some sort of main, usually like tofu, and then a meat option, and then sides. And every single meal was like that. When I tell you, I have never ate better. It's incredible. They put a big emphasis on digestion there. And so soup is served with every single meal because the hot liquid helps you digest. And then fresh fruit with every meal, like it's at your place setting. It's almost expected of you to be eating that kind of fruit. So that was super fun because it just was not at all what I was expecting. I don't know what I thought the food culture was there, but it was very different. And on my second retreat, I actually got to do a cooking class, like a very authentic local cooking class with a beautiful woman. It was amazing. And they taught us how to make like local cuisine, and everything is even down to the way they steam the rice is totally different. And it was just so beautiful. So the food was amazing. Getting around was really easy. Like I said, Grab and Gojek were the two apps that you use, and you can either call like a car or like a little bike, essentially, that somebody comes and picks you up. But it's just like Lyft and Uber here in the States. So that was super cool. So got through with that. And then during that retreat, Bali is known for their healing. It's the most energy potent place I've ever been. You step off the plane and you feel it like in your soul. And so on that retreat, the girls got to go to a water purification ceremony. But because Bali has very strict rules on if you're on your period or not, you're not able to go any of the sacred ceremonies. If you're considered essentially like unclean. And so you're not allowed to attend any of the ceremonies, waterfall ceremonies, if you are menstruating. And so I was, and me and two others were. And so instead of going to the water purification ceremony, we actually got to go chase some waterfalls. It was so freaking cool. We essentially went out with a guide, a driver, and we saw, I think 3 or 4, but we got to hike down into them. And at one point there was this waterfall that we walked into that like walked the whole path through just like the forest and the rainforest and all this stuff. And it shot us out at this waterfall. Well, the exit was like down the river, So cool. So climbed into this waterfall, took some photos, really amazing. And then you take a right and it's like down the river. Well, it wasn't that far, but it like took us between this narrow passageway where you're walking in like knee deep water. Ended up being really cool, little scary, just because I wasn't prepared for it, but it was so freaking awesome. So got to do that. And then we met up with the girls after who had done the water purification ceremony. And so it was cool because we got to do kind of our own little mini version of it. And I ended up being able to go and do that same purification ceremony on my second retreat. So I was very thankful and very lucky that I ended up getting to do it anyways. And so we met back up with them. And like I said, it was just, we did mini photo shoots. We did these really cool group shoots. There was like a bingo board that we got to do where we were running around. Basically the whole house was just butt naked, running around taking selfies because it was like a boudoir photographer that was running it. And Rosie is a burlesquer. And so we got to do a couple of different things like that. So some was burlesque, some was boudoir. And at the very end, we got to do this really fun like dance class with all of us at the end. So that was really special. And that, I would say that was probably the best way that we could have wrapped up that retreat. And from that retreat, I went to a house. I got to stay with a few of my friends that were there. And we ended up going to a beach club, which was super hoity-toity. It's called Fins. It's in Bali. And a lot of people go there. Bali is unique because it's sort of like Australia's Cabo, I would say. And so there's lots of beach clubs, lots of like high-end bottle services, tables, all sorts of things. So we ended up going, there was 5 of us that went, and we got to go do Fins, which was really fun. And so it's like a dance club / pool place. And so there's a bunch of pools and you have table service, and then it turns into a nightclub with like a DJ. So that was really fun. And then a couple of the girls that were coming to the next retreat showed up at that house and I got to meet them. That was really fun. And then all of us went to our next and final retreat, which is Brina's. And that was a super fun one because it was all kind of creatives. And so it was hair and makeup artists, photographers, models. We had a healer with us. And so it was just like a really cool mix of people. And we did a lot of the same stuff that we did on the first one with like the healing and the boat, which was really cool. It was fun to go do the boat thing again, be able to go snorkel again, kind of knowing what to expect. And then I actually got to do the water purification ceremony, and it is so unique because Bali is like known for their ceremonies and their cultural, like it's very spiritual. And so essentially what you do with this water purification ceremony is, you get undressed and they put you in these like sarongs. They give you a sarong to wear, and then they give you a basket of offerings. And every offering has an offering, which is this like little tiny basket of like flowers and cookies and all sorts of stuff that they offer to their gods. And then there's also an incense that you put with it. And so there's all these different like stops along the way where it's a mix of holy water and the water that's coming out of their waterfalls. And you like offer your little offerings to their gods, essentially. And there's probably, I think, 6 or 7 stops where they explain what it is, what these gods are known for. And then you offer your offering. And then along the way, there's also ceremony. So there's times where they like sit you down and they are pouring water over you with flowers, all sorts of stuff. It was super cool. The best part about the water purification was under these 2 waterfalls, there's 2 that you like go into as a group. And one of them is where you essentially just scream your rage into the abyss. And the other is where you like joyfully sing and dance under the waterfall. And it's hard to explain kind of what this is until you've experienced it. But if you get the opportunity to go to Bali, I would highly recommend it because it was so amazing. The other cool thing I ended up doing at that same ceremonial place was I had an aura cleansing, which was not what everybody did. There was only 3 of us that stayed back, 4 of us that stayed back. 3 of us did an aura cleansing and 1 person did like a palm reading. And I will tell you, that was probably the most powerful part of my entire time in Bali because I just wasn't prepared for what we were able to move. I'm very much in the like woo-woo hippie kind of out there energy healing world. And so I do very much believe in like chakra alignment and things getting stuck and needing to like cleanse and get in there and really dig deep. Well, at the first retreat, I had cleared a lot. I'm going through a lot. both emotionally, physically, with my job, with my personal life. And I don't talk about that a lot here, and I just don't. But after losing my dog and then having some people walk out of my life that have been around for a really long time, separating from somebody who's been in my life for 15 years, and just like where we are climate wise, I was not prepared for this healing. And she was this beautiful, they volunteer. These healers volunteer, and you can tip them, but they volunteer their service. And you walk into these, like, it's outside of the waterfall area, but there are these huts. It's a row of huts, and everything is open air there. So it's all open. The sides are all open. But you walk in and there's like a platform that I sat on, and then she sat across the table and she was writing a bunch of stuff down on her notepad. And I, wasn't really paying attention at that time, like what she was writing down. I think I don't know, because nobody else had an experience like this of the four of us that stayed. Wrote a bunch of stuff down, and then essentially did like a reading of things that like no one knows about me. And she was so spot on, both with like what I'm dealing with physically, mentally, and emotionally. And it wasn't like she asked me questions. It was just like, sat down, I wrote my name, my date of birth, my origin, and something else down, my email, I think. And then she started writing numbers down, and arrows and all sorts of stuff. And then she just started like talking about all sorts of stuff. It was fucking spot on. It was crazy. And then after, you lay down on this table and she kind of stands behind you, and it's essentially just like it's a whole process. And at one point, like, stuff was stuck, and she had me just like screaming and hitting the table. It sounds bonkers saying it now. It was the most cathartic thing I've ever done, the most emotionally and physically draining thing I've ever done. And, it was incredible because she offered me some guidance and some support on things that I just didn't know I was dealing with. Including like, I've been kind of keeping my dad around. He passed away essentially this year's 14 years ago. And I didn't know that, like, spiritually I'd been kind of keeping him in limbo. And so she even delved into that and like helped me pass him into a better like resting place. I mean, it was incredible. And I won't go much into detail because it's like, I don't even know how to put into words what happened. But when I left, I was like in a daze. It was the craziest thing I've ever done. And I feel so lucky that I had the opportunity to do that, because there's just no other way to express my gratitude for being in the right place at the right time with the right healer and the right support and all of that stuff. So if you get the opportunity to go to Bali, make sure that you do some sort of water purification ceremony. Not only does it help honor the culture that you're visiting, but also it is just the most cathartic thing you've ever done. It's so powerful. It's so tangible. And you can feel the energy there. It's just absolutely stunning. So I got really lucky. That was on my second retreat. We also got to make our own silver jewelry on that retreat, which was super cool. And then we had this like shootout day where we shot this really cool, like really high-end luxury photography studio. It's been in Vogue and all sorts of stuff. So very, very cool. And overall, that was a really great retreat. Feel really lucky that I got to be a part of that. But things that kind of came up throughout the process was how much I feel disconnected from boudoir specifically, and how at the moment it just sort of feels like boudoir doesn't really feel like home anymore, which is kind of a scary transition. I made a video about it yesterday, but it sort of feels like I'm walking into Alaska with no backpack and there's polar bears, because boudoir is all I've known for the last 10 years. And this trip really like helped me move some stuff through my body that I was not prepared to deal with, right? Like I didn't go in thinking this. I went in thinking I feel a little bit off. I feel a little bit like what's happening in the world, plus what's happening in my business. I feel off center. And I wasn't sure if it was just because of my dog and the people that have walked out of my life, or if it was something bigger. And come to find out it's something bigger. And it's just a sense of dis-ease with where I am in my business. what I figured out is photography sets my soul on fire in a way that nothing else in my entire life has. And I want to get back to taking photos that really fucking resonate with me, with the people I'm shooting. And I think right now what's happening is what I was feeling was I was just trying to kind of cover up the gravity of the situation of what's going on in the world right now with lace and lingerie. And it just didn't feel right anymore. And I think that's why I felt so off center. And so I came back with such clarity on where I want to go and what I want my life to look like going forward. And for me, it's documenting things that feel super powerful to people. Not only the mundane, like just you in your day-to-day life, watering your lawn and doing the things, sewing, playing sports, things like that. But like the gravity of the rage and the sadness that is happening in this world, and really standing and honoring that with people. And I think it really switched for me, standing in the waterfall and like screaming, feral screaming into the abyss as water's pounding the top of your head and you're just like bawling and the people around you are crying and it's just like, it was so cathartic. And that moment of feeling like there was so much beauty in the rage and there was so much love in the rage and allowing myself to honor that space, Bali gave me that. And there's just so much gratitude that I have for that, because I went thinking it was going to be like a really cool, photography retreat, body bliss retreat. I wasn't really thinking about anything beyond that. I wasn't really thinking about anything that felt bigger than that. And in reality, like the universe had a totally different plan. And so I kind of had to fall apart, which I did. Lots unraveled emotionally, physically, mentally for me while I was there. And a lot became very clear. And it became very clear kind of piecemeal. It wasn't all at one time. Like it was part of the waterfall. It was part of the breath work that I did. It was part of the healing. It was part of the aura cleansing. It was part of witnessing things with other people while I was there. It was partly the fact that I didn't pick up my camera. I didn't even fill a memory card. I took 38 memory cards thinking I was going to do nothing but shoot. I had a hard time even picking up my camera, like finding the desire to pick up my camera there. And it kind of all culminated to the fact that I want to spend the next 10 years of my life honoring the place that people are in right now. Not try and cover it in lace, not try and cover it in lipstick, not try and hide behind sexy poses and big breasts. And knowing that the boudoir industry in and of itself was built from the male gaze. Even if you say, oh, I shoot from the female gaze, the industry in and of itself was built on the male gaze, because for the first 100+ years of its existence, it was shot by men for men. And so I think that's where I've just felt really kind of off kilter about, we're not able to really honor the gravity during these sessions because it just doesn't feel like that's what boudoir is. And I was trying to fit kind of a round peg into a square hole for years. And so I would say the thing that Bali gave me, the most beautiful thing that Bali gave me, was clarity. And clarity in the sense that now I know how I'm going to pivot. I know what life looks like going forward. I know what I want my retreats to feel like. And I'll tell you this, we were sitting at dinner between retreats. We were at this beautiful beach bar and a group of women kind of slowly trickled in, not our table. We were with the group of women, but another group of women. And it was palpable watching the way that these women interacted. Like their souls have brushed against each other on and off for years. And there was a comfort and a security in the way that they hugged each other and like their care for each other and the love that they had for each other and the space that they were holding for each other. From an outside watching, that was palpable. Oh my God, it was fucking incredible. And ironically, one of the women was wearing the same dress as one of the girls in our group. She ended up coming over and being like, hey, we have the same dress on. And I just asked the question like, hey, witnessing you guys has been amazing. We'll come to find out they are an online retail that does fair trade. And so They sell jewelry, art, and everything from women all over the world. And every year their founder takes them to one of their places that they sell. And Bali was this year. So it was a group of women that have worked together for years, and they all have a +1. And it was just so beautiful witnessing that sort of thing together. And all I could think was, that is my future, is creating spaces for women to honor each other in a way that feels so genuine and so authentic and so comfortable. And just like they're soaking into each other. And all I could think was, that's all I want my future to be. And so now I know what I want my retreats to look like, more so than I ever have. I mean, this is my 4th year of retreats. Going in knowing exactly what I want it to feel like and exactly how I want it to operate has been such a gift. And Bali is so beautiful because they are big. Like I said, they're very spiritual, and they're big on rituals. And when you land at the airport, there's plaid wrapped around all their columns and everything. And I just was so curious about it. Well, they wrap things in plaid. There's 2 types of plaid. There's 2-color plaid, black and white, and then there's black, white, and red. And both of them represent different things. The black and white is the juxtaposition of good and bad. And you have to have both to have harmony. And so they say a lot of times, like a lot of good has to happen, but a lot of things also have to fall apart to get to where you are. And I just thought that was so amazing. And so for me, it's like the love and rage of, we have a lot of love for where we are and for our bodies and for where we're going, but we also have a lot of rage, and we need to honor both, because we can't have one without the other. Right. And so I kind of got clarity there, which was amazing. The other plaid that they have is, it honors their essentially three gods, and it's, every color represents something different. And it's so beautiful just to witness that as somebody who lives in a country that really has a lot of fear around religion, and it's kind of weaponized. It just felt so soft there, and so intentional, and so grounded, and so, what's the right word? It wasn't weaponized. And that maybe is the first time I've ever witnessed a culture that didn't weaponize their religion or their spirituality. And it was amazing. It was just amazing. And so like going forward, I know that's what I want. I want to help people stand in their power, and I want to essentially amplify who they are and where they're going, and like everything that they've accomplished in their past and where they're going in their present and their future. And I just think it was so incredibly powerful. So I say all of this to say, Bali was amazing. There was so much about it that I just wish I could have like soaked in it for longer. I mean, I was there 20 days, 21 days, which was the perfect amount of time. And I know I will carry the lessons and the experiences from Bali for the rest of my life. This was such a pivotal moment for me. And it was such an important thing that I did for myself, something I've never done, just taken time off and gone to like better myself. I definitely go to conferences and educational stuff, but never that long and never a country that far away. And so it was just such a moment of clarity for me. It was such a moment of realization that I deserve to take up space, just like I asked my clients to. I am not too much. My emotions aren't too big. My healing isn't a burden. And the women I was with allowed me to witness that and see that firsthand. And so to the women that I was with, thank you. I love you guys. If you listen to this, cool. If not, I'm just putting it in the universe, the people that were there that held me and helped me kind of pick the pieces up when I completely shattered and gushed all over the place. Like it was literally like somebody cut me down the middle, turned me inside out, and then stitched me outside in. I don't know how to explain it. It was fucking amazing. But being in a group of women that supported that and like helped stitch it back together was amazing. And I know just how powerful it is to be in groups of women like that. And so I'm very excited about October. I'm very excited about our Ireland and Scotland retreat, because I can't wait to create that space again for the women that I get to steward through the time that I have with them. And that's something I'm very much looking forward to. So Mama Bali, you did me well. You did me so well. You opened my eyes to things that I just wasn't prepared for. You shine light into crevices in my body and nooks and crannies that I didn't know were dark. And you helped me process some really heavy, traumatic shit that feels just amazing. And so stepping into my first month of my 10th, technically 11th year in business, knowing that I have a very clear picture of where I want to go and what I want to accomplish and how I want to do it is such a gift. And so I wrap this up to say, if you ever have the opportunity to go to Bali, go do it. Immerse yourself, dig in, go to the healing, go to the waterfalls, go swim in the ocean, eat the delicious food, make the jewelry, take the photos, do it, because it is such a magical experience. I will be doing a whole separate blog on photos, videos, all sorts of good stuff about Bali. I won't attach it here because you can't see it. But if you are somebody who wants behind the scenes content and more of like a deeper, richer view of the Nood Troop and who I am and what I do, make sure you go over to my Substack. You can find us at the Nood Troop. It is a subscription service, so it's $11 a month if you want to be a VIP member and be one of my troopers. Otherwise, you can just do my email list and you'll get access to the free content that I put out to the public. But I just really appreciate you guys for being here, allowing me to create this space and to just show you that anything in life is possible. If you can dream it in your head, it has already become a reality in your hands. You cannot dream in non-realities. So if you have a dream, if you have something that sets your soul on fire, if you have something that you're chasing, just know that it already exists. You just have to walk to it. And you just have to step into your power and go find it. I didn't think Bali was something I could ever do. And it is something that will have changed the projection of my life for the rest of my life. And did I have to beg, borrow, and steal to get there? Yes, absolutely. But I just knew, before I left that it was going to be super powerful. And I knew that because it already existed, because I could already dream it. I could already physically see it, feel it, touch it, smell it. And so by the time I got there, I just knew I was just stepping into my power. So just know that if you have something on your brain, on your heart, you can literally do it too. Nothing is unattainable. Nothing. If this is something that you want, then go chase it. If you have questions, ask. I'm happy to answer them. So for now, I love you. Know that you are super powerful. And I hope you go out and manifest your dream life, your dream trips, your dream vacations with dream people. And I hope that you have the support and love that you deserve surrounding you to also help you know that your dreams are not crazy. They're not unobtainable. They're very obtainable. And so go forth and do amazing things and know that you are loved. And I can't wait to see you again for next week. We have an amazing guest on for next week's show. So I love you guys and we'll catch you on the next one.